All right, folks. Hey, this is the Frazzle Dad, Alan Clayton, and forget the thumbnail that I've got because, well, we're still working on the technology aspects of this, trying to get some stuff rolling on YouTube. If you're following me over on TT or IG or any of the other social media platforms. So anyway, I wanted to do something about quiet quitting. I've been wanting to do it for a while, and it's been difficult to try to organize my thoughts on it. But I think I've got something. So quiet quitting, I think, really comes down to responsible greed versus irresponsible greed. And what are they? Well, let's start with irresponsible greed. Irresponsible greed is like what we typically know as corporate greed. But it can, small businesses can also use it. And I've seen more than a couple small businesses use this model. Doesn't usually work out so well for small businesses. But what does it look like? It looks like an owner or manager pushing hard on people to stay late or pick up the slack when someone is sick, or staffing issues, and then management or ownership, they don't do anything to help pick up the slack. Leading by example, how that works, right? When management does the bare minimum, hey, guess what? Your staff's going to follow the lead and do the bare minimum as well. But if management decides that they're not going to do bare minimum, you're going to have a staff that follows management lead. So when management does the bare minimum, what's the incentive for the management or staff to do that? Just that little bit extra. Nobody gets rewarded for their efforts. And it's kind of a lot like how communism works. So what's responsible greed? So responsible greed is having a business that, yes, you want to make money, but you understand that you can't do it alone. You need people to fill positions, to do things that either you don't have time to do, you don't have the skill set to do, or it's just stuff that you can do it, but you're better off finding somebody better than you to be able to do it. And you understand that as a business owner, you have certain responsibility to your community. You're creating a product or service within that community. You're providing jobs, you're paying taxes, and as a business owner, you sacrifice a lot of your time and money to get your idea off the ground. So should you get paid? Yeah, absolutely, 100%. But, the current CEO to employee wage gap is 204 times. So based on how things are going right now, maybe you don't need to be getting that much more than your average staff. You're going to have opportunities to make money outside of your business. You're going to be networked in with people, with other business owners. You don't need to take every single penny you can out of your business, but a lot of people do. So now we get to the employee part, right? Employees are looked at one of two ways. Either they're looked at as an asset or a liability. So if your employer sees you as a liability, management will use fear as a motivator. They don't understand or respect the boundaries between work time and non-work time. But sometimes they may buy you pizza and say, thanks for putting up with our BS. Or at my wife's, when my wife had a job, they liked to buy Jimmy John's, and she just got absolutely sick of Jimmy John's. So now you can't get her to go to Jimmy John's, like, ever. Which is fine, because I don't really like Jimmy John's anyway. But if your employer sees you as an asset, they're going to roll up their sleeves and get dirty with you. They see every job and person as important, and each person is a key part of the process for the company. These employers know that mental health is important. Now, like 30, 40 years ago, maybe they didn't know, about mental health the way we understand it today. But it might have been one of those things where it's like, hey, is everything okay today? You're a little off, and you're like, so and so, such and such is happening. Hey, take a day off, come back. They took care of you. It wasn't called mental health, it was just called being a good person. But they were willing to solve the problems, and they're also willing to just sit down and listen to you. We have human beings, we have a longing for connection. And yes, even the introverts. You may only want one or two solid friends, but you still want connection. And companies that understand this concept are generally more productive and have less turnover. When I was a teen, I got a valuable lesson from one of my dad's clients. If you don't know my background, my dad was an accountant. He had an accounting practice. I went on to work in financial services as a licensed professional. I met a lot of business owners and I learned a lot, but there was one guy in particular, and I hated this guy. I mean, he was an absolute butt. But he was really smart. And he said, look, if I don't take care of my people, I end up spending too much of my time on site fixing problems. Not that I don't want to, but I shouldn't have to. I've trained my people well, I treat them well, and I stay out of their way so that they can do their job. And when they make mistakes, we address it, fix it, and move on. You should never be scared to make mistakes. Mistakes, everyone does it. And he told me that philosophy, and it works until a company gets so big that they are run in fear by lawyers and run by the bottom line by accountants. It's a valuable lesson that I've carried with me my entire adult life, and it's worked well. Long time in a galaxy, far, far away, I was a manager in a copy center at an Office Max. And I always trained my people. I never had an issue with people not showing up or wanting to work extra. And I never really asked them to. And if I did ask them to and they said no, I didn't hassle them about it. I was just like, okay, fine. Have a good night. But when I got done training them, I always told this story. I said, look, don't be afraid to make mistakes. You can't make a mistake I haven't made, and you can't do it on a level that I've done it. See, I've always been taught, if you're going to do something, be the best at it. And for a while in my life, I was absolutely the best at making mistakes. So I was working in an Office Max receiving department in North Carolina. We were getting truck in that day. Our receiving area was very, very small. And we were moving some furniture around. Got some file cabinets up on a pallet on a forklift. I was telling my receiving manager, hey, bring it up, bring it up, bring it up. I was like 22 years old. And I said, bring it up, bring it up. I was trying to get to where I could just slide the file cabinets off from the pallet to the fixtures. And I heard this pop. And I thought, oh my God, we just broke a light. I covered my head. I was waiting to get hit with hot glass. No, we broke the sprinkler system. Yeah, I flooded an Office Max, did $500,000 worth of damage, ruined the entire furniture department, and about 35% of the product in the store. So yeah, I kept my job and later on became management. And the guy that was driving the forklift, he actually ended up with his own store. Now, was it a mistake? Yeah, was it a big mistake? Abso-freaking-lutely. But quite honestly, like for me, I had made a lot of mistakes, so I was expecting to get fired. This dude didn't get fired. He very rarely made mistakes. He was a good dude, and he was always spot on, perfect on everything. He had an eye for detail that I just didn't have. So he was always like covering up for my mistakes. Not necessarily covering up. He would fix the errors that I would make in the paperwork sometimes. He was very thorough about that. But you've got to give people room to grow. You have to give them a chance to be successful. And when you don't do that, you're just asking for this quiet quitting. And then what quiet quitting leads to is quiet firing. I have been on both ends of that. And then what quiet quitting leads to is quiet firing. I have been on both ends of that. I have been quiet quit, and I have watched my wife get quiet fired. I have never been quiet fired. When I was fired, they just came in. They said, "Yeah, leave." It was very loud, and I've only been fired once. But my wife went through quiet firing. They just kept taking work away from her to the point that she would go in all day and sit at her computer and do nothing, and they would pay her. And she knew that the guy in charge wasn't going to fire her, but there was like a middle management person between her and the guy in charge. She was the one that was quiet firing my wife, and she ended up quitting because she was getting quiet fired. And because of that, my wife has actually never gone back to a job. She has always, she's been self-employed, she's done gig work, she's done a lot of things, but she has not. It's been 3 years and she has not gone back in the office. So anyway, that is, that's the quiet quitting for today. And again, ignore the thumbnail, whatever. I'm still trying to figure all this out. Moving on to YouTube. So anyway, hey, if you like the content, be sure to like and subscribe. Definitely helps me out a little bit. And for those of you coming over from TT, this is hopefully expanding on some stuff that we've talked about before. And it's just giving you a little bit longer form videos with some more details. So anyway, hey, y'all, it's been real. And I am going to sign out on this video, and we will catch up with you later. Frazzle Dad out.